Hi everyone, thank you for coming to our session today. I'm joined here by my friend and colleague Alex Ball. Thanks for coming, Alex.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks for having me,
you coming on.
Richard.
No
Thank
worries. So thanks everyone. I've brought Alex along today to really get into the topic of, we refer to it as EDI consolidation. TrueCommerce are an EDI provider. We've got decades of experience across EDI, helping businesses exchange EDI documents with, their customers, suppliers, trading partners. But ultimately today, I wanted to bring Alex along to ask him about, the process of going from using one EDI platform to multiple, the challenges involved, how businesses do it, what benefits they get, and so on. So, Alex, you're TrueCommerce's Global Business Development Director. I've known you for a few years when you've been leading, the sales team and smashing sales quotas. And I guess when you're chatting to your clients and prospects about EDI, you're often speaking to quite large businesses. Does the question of consolidation crop up a lot? Do, any of your clients often want to bring a lot of EDI platforms together?
Yeah, it's a great question. And when we look at our 18,000 clients globally, the majority of them did not have many different EDI platforms to consolidate. But for those who did, they're often some of our largest projects, some of our most interesting clients. I think having multiple EDI solutions, approaches to EDI, be it in-house, outsourced, it is just a symptom of being an exciting, rapidly expanding organization, often multiple business units, multiple geographies. So when it does come up, it's absolutely essential that TrueCommerce knows what that means, how to tackle it, how to reduce risk when you're consolidating, and ultimately how to give you the solution that you're looking for that gives you full visibility, enables you to more easily increase revenue, increase growth because you've consolidated your platforms, greater control, reduce risk, and obviously reduce cost as well. So we have some fantastic conversations in the realms of EDI consolidation. So looking forward to talking about that today.
Yeah, and I actually want to pick up on sort of one of the early things you said then was, it's this topic of consolidation, when it comes up, is critical.
Yes.
And it's often in your larger businesses. So I guess, what type of business is this, essential for? I assume it's not, just a specific industry, but, is it just large businesses in general? Is that your experience with it?
Yeah, I understand the question. There are a few characteristics that you'll find are consistent across these organizations. Let's say there are two camps. One is rapid growth. So if you're looking at multiple markets, multiple industries, multiple geographies, what you'll find is this organization has an in-house EDI a solution and an approach that's internal, or they have a national domestic EDI partner. They're growing quickly. They've opened up a new market. Maybe they start out in the UK, they're moving to the DACH region, Germany, they're moving to North America, they're moving to the Nordics, whatever it might be, and they quickly realize our current approach to EDI, be it in-house or with a partner, cannot deliver on this requirement that we have. That's when they get another EDI partner in the Nordics, and then they get another one in Germany, another one in North America, and even in some cases they'll have two in the same region because one of them maybe can't accommodate 3PLs or can't accommodate an AS2 connection. And ultimately, because they're growing so quickly and the business says, we would like to have a consolidated tech stack, but what we'd like more is rapid growth. We'd like to increase revenue. So that slips by the wayside, and 10 years later, they have all of these different solutions. So that's the first type. The second one is the acquisition, where somebody's bought many different businesses. They all had their own EDI platforms. Naturally, you can get a hybrid of the two, where there's a lot of rapid growth, and then there's also acquisitions, which obviously makes the exponentially increases how many EDI platforms someone can end up with. We have seen somebody with 9 in 14 countries. So they're the two I'd think about when we look at how does somebody get to the point where they have all of these platforms. Now, it doesn't have to be 9. We can absolutely have a conversation with somebody who just has 2, and they say, look, we'd like to rationalize from 2 to 1, from 3 to 1. And obviously the conversation starts from there.
Yeah. And I guess, you've probably got experience of this, but, what's involved in it? And I guess in fact, firstly, I guess an interesting point is you mentioned before, this is almost a symptom of success, isn't it? The reason why you want to do this is because your business is growing. Now, what are some of the things that a business needs to consider when they are going through this consolidation process with a business like TrueCommerce?
Yeah, great question. I really like the phrasing. It's a symptom of success because that's exactly how we see it. We don't talk to failing companies about EDI consolidation. If you're in a position where you have 9 EDI platforms, something's gone incredibly well. Yeah. You've grown very quickly. You've expanded and acquired additional businesses. It's a symptom of success. You're exactly right to call it that. So let's say the conversation starts. How do I tackle this topic of EDI consolidation? First of all, you need to understand your estate. And I think if you're an IT director, a CIO, anybody within that team, you will be shocked at how little you know. That when you look at your EDI platforms, be it 2, 3, or 9, when you look at the different EDI vendors, can you actually tell us as a potential new partner who would help you consolidate, who are all of the connections? How do they connect with you? Which messages are they exchanging with you? What are the formats? What are the connection types? So that's usually step one. It's actually doing that deep dive to understand the lay of the land, so to speak. Fortunately, with TrueCommerce, we can help you on that journey because we have 18,000 clients, 180,000 connected businesses. You might not know all of those intricate details of your 100, 250, 300 trading partners. We can find that out for you. So we can plug some of the gaps. It's certainly a team effort. But if I was to tell you step one, it'd be understanding what we're actually here to consolidate.
Yeah, and it's an important point because, we've got decades of, or TrueCommerce have got decades of experience in EDI. We've been doing it forever. But ultimately, a lot of businesses that are using EDI are using it to meet requirements. It probably ticks along in the background in a lot of cases. But, if it goes wrong, there are severe consequences, aren't there? So it's really good to, I guess, have someone like TrueCommerce who removes that need for internal kind of knowledge and expertise because we handle it all for our clients, don't we?
Yeah, exactly right. So from a TrueCommerce perspective, we have the knowledge, we have the expertise. So we've got the people, we've got the processes, we've got the experience and also the recent experience. So if you spoke to me and some of our key colleagues who are in this space, what did you do in the last 12 months? We've got some fantastic examples where they're fresh, that their insights are new. But on top of all of that is the technology. So something that TrueCommerce has through having so many of these clients and these projects where we are consolidating, we've developed tooling specifically for EDI consolidation, EDI migrations, which really benefits our clients. But also we've used it internally because, look, we spoke about a symptom of success being that you have multiple EDI platforms. It's exactly the same for TrueCommerce. We expanded through acquisition. We bought many different EDI businesses. We ultimately ourselves ended up with 15 platforms that we've had to consolidate. So believe me, nobody knows this better than us. When it comes to consolidating EDI platforms, we've not just done it for our clients, we've done it for ourselves, and anybody who comes to us will benefit from all of that depth of understanding, expertise, and tooling.
Yeah, and I guess there's not many people, like you said, not many organizations that are in, I guess, a privileged position such as us to embark on a consolidation process with our clients. We've got experience, like you said, of sort of growing through acquisition ourselves, and through our experience in connecting trading partners, helping people integrate. We really are someone that a business should be looking to when they're going through a consolidation process.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we're fairly candid with people who reach out to us. Look, if you are a standard manufacturer of a food product and you have 5 EDI customer connections to 5 major UK retailers, it's not time critical. There's nothing special. You could go to one of 40 or 50 EDI partners to do a good enough job to get you what you need. But if you're talking about EDI consolidation that's pan-European in an enterprise business with ERP systems, potentially upgrading to a cloud ERP in parallel to that, there is almost nobody else globally, certainly in Europe, that can do what TrueCommerce can do in this space. So this is why it's a really exciting project for us, because we know from that first conversation, we're going to go on a long journey together because ultimately we know we can help you better than anyone else. And when we have those conversations, prospects come to the same conclusion.
Yeah, and you've mentioned a few, critical areas then, across integration and things like that. I guess, do you often see specific challenges when you're speaking to your clients and your prospects, when they've, grown and maybe they've got multiple EDI systems? Are there sort of, typical challenges or anything like that you can speak to that people need to be aware of?
Yeah, there are a dozen, but we'll focus on one because it follows the thread nicely. We spoke about what you do day one, and that's understanding the lay of the land, your EDI platforms, the connections, the message types, the formats, all of the different components that make up your EDI estate and also your ERP systems as well, and how your ERPs interact with that. The next thing is understanding the time frame. So when we think about challenges around EDI consolidation and what brings people to the table, in many cases, is that they're moving to a cloud-based ERP. So we actually end up having two conversations in parallel. One is EDI consolidation, which is incredibly hard on its own. The other is an ERP migration, or potentially consolidating multiple ERPs into your one go-forward solution. And actually, we're talking about doing that together. So how can we consolidate the EDI platforms into one, a TrueCommerce platform, whilst also consolidating your ERPs? So that's the big challenge. And then the conversation progresses there to, what are the timelines? So important. Are you moving in 12 months? Are you moving in 6 months? I could talk about a major UK supermarket had this conversation with a 6-month window. One of the largest frozen food manufacturers in Europe, they gave us 11 months. So actually, once we've defined the scope, the challenge, it's then talking about timelines. And that's when the plan's critical, because it's all theory until we actually get into the weeds and get into the detail. And that's actually where our clients and our prospects get the most confidence, because it's not just theoretical anymore. We're actually talking about how we're going to do it.
Yeah. And I guess ultimately that is one of the major benefits of not necessarily doing this in-house by, partnering with end-to-end EDI and integration experts like TrueCommerce. I mean, you've mentioned supermarkets, you've mentioned these, I guess we'd call them tier one, massive organizations. Yeah. I mean, we've got that breadth of experience that I guess is essential, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And as I've said to you before in other conversations, there are three major focuses for our clients and our prospects. It's revenue, it's increasing revenue, it's reducing cost, usually large costs, and then obviously reducing risk. When this conversation comes up around EDI consolidation, it can often fall into all three camps. When we have 9 different EDI platforms, how is that slowing us down when it comes to adding new connections to increase revenue? When it comes to reducing risk, you have 9 platforms to manage, 9 relationships, 9 points of failure, 9 sets of disaster recovery plans that you need to review. And when it comes to cost, it's fairly obvious that having 9 solutions would be very expensive compared to 1, or 2 solutions compared to 1. So they're the 3 major camps. When we get into the realm of ERP migration as well, that's actually where risk is probably our biggest factor. So if you speak to a client, a prospect, they're usually changing ERP because of some key positive business outcome around revenue, typically. Nobody buys an ERP system for the sake of it. So then when you add that in, you've got a major risk component that needs to be managed alongside the EDI changes.
Yeah. And are you often seeing that, I guess mitigating risk, I guess improving processes, you've mentioned revenue and costs, they're seeming like the key value drivers in conversations like this?
Yeah, absolutely that. I think we've kind of got into 2 different conversations, but just on EDI consolidation, the primary one there will be cost, of course. Risk is a really big factor. And then we do see that revenue comes into the mix as well. And actually, we have maybe 3 tiers of conversations. Right there, that's the boardroom conversation. That's those high-level ones. But also there are some frustrations you'd have with your day-to-day EDI technical contacts. I can't get into those in too much detail because it's a case-by-case basis. You can speak to 100 different clients and have 1,000 different examples. But the point is that when we talk about EDI consolidation, there is somebody who deals with this every day who's incredibly frustrated. There are managers and heads of departments and directors that are very frustrated. And then right up to the boardroom where they're feeling the impact. They might not even know that that's because they've got an issue around too many EDI platforms or ERPs, but they certainly do feel it in the boardroom. And if we can address something like this, that whole range of people benefit.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting point on the boardroom. I'd never really, I rarely think about that, but, going through a process like this and consolidation, ultimately it's going to reduce a business's costs, isn't it? Because I imagine if you've mentioned nine platforms, the more EDI systems you've got, you're going to incur more costs. Is that correct? You're going to have set up costs across various platforms. You might have, variable costs. Maybe you're paying support things in different areas, and all them things surely add up.
Yeah, exactly that. But I think I'm really cautious not to overemphasize the point around cost, because when you are in a boardroom and you're talking about 2 EDI platforms, you spend $50,000 a year on each. It's $100,000. We'll save $50,000 if we get rid of one. That's not a boardroom consideration. What they care about is we have a major UK retailer. They give us $1 million a year, $5 million a year. We are failing to send them ASNs correctly. We're at 7% success rate. We may lose this. The relationship is declining if we do not fix this. That's the boardroom conversation. We're talking in millions, not tens of thousands, and many other examples just like that. We would like to do business in the DACH region in Germany. That's a $50 million opportunity. How can EDI and our ERP strategy enable that? So cost is always critical, but let's remember it's the risk, it's the revenue conversations that really interest the boardroom.
Yeah, and there's a lot of process improvements, isn't there? You've mentioned, like, let's say if you've got a critical customer whose, orders you can't process, because maybe you're using a substandard solution to trade with that one, whereas you've got another higher performing solution, but it's actually only managing a really small amount of your EDI, transmissions. I guess that is a super important piece of a consolidation, or a benefit, if you will, is that you're going to have that single point of service across the entire business that's going to essentially elevate your infrastructure, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly that. And I'll go back to the original point, whether it's 2 relationships, 3 or 9, that's 9 lots of contract negotiations. It's reviewing their data protection plans, business continuity, disaster recovery every single year to meet certain compliance requirements. It's so much work to manage that many different relationships. So just on that front, without even getting into the weeds of all the different integrations that you might have multiple ERP systems and all these other EDI platforms you have to manage standard file-based transfers with. Naturally, this conversation does come up a lot as somebody moves to a new ERP system, often a cloud-based ERP. And in that instance, what you're saying is we will have to take 9 EDI platforms or 3 to this new ERP system. We'd much rather take 1.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's getting ahead of that. It's saying at some point, we know we'd like a new ERP. Let's do the consolidation now so we're not running them in parallel. Now, look, you and I both know we can absolutely do them together, but for many organizations, they want to get a head start on that.
Yeah, and I mean, TrueCommerce are we do EDI integration projects with ERP on a daily basis. We're partners with, SAP and Microsoft, and the list goes on. When it comes to these consolidation projects and they're linked to ERP, because, ERP and EDI, they go so well together, are there any sort of, learnings or bits of advice that you can give to people? Are there any things that are critical to sort of EDI and ERP success when it comes to these massive consolidation projects?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we often talk about ERP and EDI strategy because it's very difficult to have one conversation without the other. Your EDI platform will ultimately integrate with your ERP system, and then obviously that will interact with your trading partners. If you are dealing with someone like TrueCommerce who has world-class integrations, certified integrations for the likes of Microsoft, you mentioned, SAP and their different versions, that's a huge advantage to have that from your EDI partner. In addition to the technology, in addition to the accreditations, it's the relationship. So we have a huge channel partner network with the value-added resellers. So if you have a very trusted partner that you'd like to work with for ERP, the chances are we already have a relationship there. We've done several projects with them already. So the relationships, the people aspect is certainly advantageous.
Yeah, and when you were speaking then, I think we've gone strength of ERP integration with, our accreditations. We've got global sort of connectivity through TrueCommerce. When someone when an organization is going through one of these massive consolidation projects, what do they need to look for in a potential EDI provider?
Yeah, there's a number of ways you could approach that, and some of it's tick box. So you could say, do they have experience doing similar projects? Do they have ERP experience with this adapter? Can they show similar EDI consolidations? Also, sometimes the devil is in the detail. Which 3 or 4 or 9 EDI platforms do you currently have? Let's have a conversation about our relationship of moving specific clients from them. So I could show you a list of 50 of our clients that moved from that particular EDI system, and this is how we did it for those 50. Or this is your ERP system. Okay, we have 350 clients who are on that exact ERP system. So it's not just the tick box. You could speak to certain less established partners who might say yes, but the substance and the depth isn't there. So I always say dig a bit deeper, ask for the proof points, ask for the references, ask for the depth. From our perspective, we've been doing this for literally decades, and the people who you're dealing with, they've not been with us for 12 months. Often they're the people who have also been with us decades and did a project just like this 12 months ago. So there's a broad range of things that you can do to find confidence, really. And look, when it comes to an ERP project, when it comes to an EDI project, they're business critical, but they're also personally critical. You want this to be a massive success for your career. You don't want this to be a failure. And we're sympathetic to that. And at every step of the planning process, we factor that in, reducing risk, guaranteeing a positive outcome, and doing everything we can to support you.
Yeah. And, mentioning and touching on a few of the points then you've mentioned, I guess the risk in an unsuccessful project almost linked to the first question of what do you need to choose, what do you need to see in a provider to choose them? I guess the risk of getting that wrong can be severe in some cases, can't it?
Yeah, so for us, we will always describe EDI as business critical. The idea that you don't receive your orders is not good. Even not sending the ASNs, and as I mentioned previously, the relationship declining is also not good. Not getting your invoices paid, that turns out they failed to send. So this is very much business critical, and the project should factor that in so it can't fail. And we actually talk about the things that we do to ensure that that can't be an outcome.
Yeah, great. And then a final question, I guess, Alex, is, how does technology play a role in EDI consolidation?
Yeah, good. So there is a huge services aspect, professional services aspect to consolidating multiple EDI solutions. So we have people who are experts at doing this. They've done it recently. They've done it for years and decades in some cases, but they're also supported by technology. So for us, we have an EDI migration tool. We have an EDI consolidation tool that allows us to consolidate multiple platforms. We've developed that for a number of our clients, but also we use it internally because TrueCommerce grew through a number of acquisitions, ultimately ending up with over 15 of our own EDI platforms. So we built that tooling in addition to the expertise to execute on our own EDI consolidation, essentially. And that's certainly something that our clients and prospective clients can benefit from.
Yeah, fantastic answer. And I think probably a good place to almost start wrapping up.
Yeah.
I just want to say a huge thank you for taking the time. It's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you for that. No problem. And yeah, just to everyone else who's tuned in, thanks for taking the time to listen in. We have got other sessions. So we spoke about EDI consolidation today. We've spoken about things like ERP migrations and how EDI can unlock, European growth on other sessions. So absolutely, try and join any of our upcoming webinars and future sessions to learn more about how TrueCommerce can, benefit your business or businesses like yours. And yeah, we'd absolutely love to see you on future sessions. So thank you very much.